Level 77. First, we fill in these rows. Now we see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters of enemies and bombs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crystals. That means each cluster has 1 crystal, and each crystal has 1 cluster. So the top and bottom one have to connect to the ones on the sides. And this one is connected here. That means these two have to be connected to these two. Now this one cannot have a path to this one without touching any of the others. So therefore it has to be connected to this one. Also, there needs to be walls here separating. So this has to be connected to this one here. It can't go here or here, so it has to go here. And these have to be walls. Now in this row and this row, there are 9 walls. One of them has to, the empty space has to allow either this one to get here or here. And on the other side, this one needs to be able to go through here or here. That means these have to be walls. And either this or this, and this or this have to be empty. So this crystal needs a path here. Can't go past here because that would adjoin these. So it has to go this way. And that lets us fill out this space as a wall. And this column is gray now. And now this row must be filled in with walls. We need to have a wall separating here. That grays out this column. And let's see. In this row, let's assume the walls, the 3 walls, are on this side of the crystal, and the crystal has a path this way. Well, that would mean the walls are something like this, which can't be, because that would isolate this empty space. In any way you assemble 3 walls on this side makes isolated empty spaces, which can't be. Therefore, these 3 have to be walls, and these are empty spaces. That means this crystal connects here. This has to be a wall, and that also means this crystal has to connect here. And we see that this has to be a wall. And now we can see that 2 remaining spaces in this column have to be walls. That grays out this row. And we see the remaining space in this column have to be walls. And there's one final space which has to be empty. Level 78. Okay, we fill in the trivial rows. And now comes the tricky part. Okay, so we see there are 7 walls in this row, 3 rows in this wall. And we can see that this in this column has 3 walls. And of course there needs to be a path from left to right or vice versa. So if these walls in these two columns are like this, the empty space is here, which obviously can't be because that would connect to this crystal. So what we know is that in both these columns, there has to be a wall here. And then the remaining wall is either here or here. And here or here. Now what happens if we put a wall, and I should mention there needs to be two walls in this row as well, which means that the path has to kind of snake somehow. It needs to go something like this or something. Whatever. And there needs to be 3 empty spaces on this row. So let's see what we can surmise. Now if the path looks like this, then there has to be empty spaces around, kind of like this. Right? Or at least like this. That means there have to be walls here in order to separate. That means we have to have the same sort of thing here as well, I think. What if it's the other way around, though? If the wall is here, you also need to have the same. Right? Because the path will go that way. And there needs to be separation here. So I think that means both of these spots, there have to be 3 walls next to each other. And of course, here there needs to be separation. So let's assume that is the right orientation in this row. Now, of course, we need separation here. And then what about here? Can we have, if we put these walls like there, then there can't be walls to separate here. Therefore, we need to have them here. And that leaves this, well, the rest of the space is empty here. And then we see we can place final walls as such. And there we have it. The rest of the spaces are empty. Level 79. Okay, so let's see here. I can see that X and Y are connected. So it's A and B. And we see that the bombs, let's see, the bunnies that can be hit by X and Y cannot be hit by A or B. And let's see here. X and Y can hit 2, 1, or 0. Now, if X hits 1, then Y hits 1. And that can't be, since X, Y, A, and B all have to be unequal. That means X or Y equals 0 or 2. In other words, these bunnies have to be connected, and the same here. So X and Y are equal to 0 or 2. That means A and B cannot be equal to 0 and 2. So that means both A and B have to hit at least 1 bunny. And we see that leaves the solution simple. The wall has to be here, which tells us that B equals 1 and A equals 3. And also we can check the equation. So if A is 3, then 2A is 6. B is 1, so 2B is 2, total of 8. And then X and Y are 0 and 2, or 2 and 0. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0. So 4 plus 8 equals 12, just as it should be. Also, there are 2 crystals which have to be separated. See, this is connected to all of this and this, while this crystal is connected here, which means there has to be separation here and here. And that grays out this row and this column. There needs to be walls between bombs, so here must be a wall. Also, we can just fill in this row with walls. I see. There must be a wall here. Now this column is gray. And we can also fill in this column with walls. Now, we can't have walls here because that would isolate these bombs, which can't be. So there must be empty space here and here. And that means that Y equals 2. And also we need to have walls here and here. So we can see that X equals 0. Now this is gray. So is this and this. And now we need separation here as well as here. So now we have successfully walled off this zone. This column can be filled in with walls. So can this row. And that leaves these gray. And this row, there's one space left, which we can see must be a wall. Level 80. Now we see this column has only one wall. Each bomb can only hit one bunny. And so therefore, if there's a wall here, this one is going to hit 2, which can't be, and vice versa. So this and this cannot be walls. So we have a starting point. Of course, bombs can not hit more than one bunny, and bunnies can't be hit by more than one bomb. So we need to block off some bombs from some bunnies. Okay, now this column is gray, and we see this bunny has to be hit by this bomb, this by this, this by this, and this by this. We can fill in this row with walls. That means there has to be empty space here, here. See that this bunny has to be hit by this bomb, and we need to make some walls. In this column, there's one more wall, which has to be one of these. Ergo, not these. So let's make some more walls. And the final bunny has to be hit by the final bomb. Now we see this row is gray. So is this column. In this row, the final wall has to be one of these, and so can't be here. And that means we can fill in this column of 4 with 2 more walls. We can fill in this row and this row, and also this row. This column is 5 walls in total, and this column 4. Now, if we see down in this row, one of these is going to be a wall, which means if there is a wall here, there's going to be separation. For instance, like this, that would make this a zone without a crystal, which can't be. Therefore, this must be an empty space. And so we see the wall in this row. The remaining wall has to be here. And that grays out this column. And we see that the wall in this row that remains has to be here. And now this column is gray. We cannot have a wall here because that would make an isolated zone here. So this is empty. Therefore, this is a wall. Now this is gray. This row has 2 more walls. And that's it. Level 81. We're past the halfway point, and suddenly the board got bigger. So we have 15 cells by 15 cells. So that makes the arithmetic slightly harder. It's I find it easier when the baseline is 10. So for instance, this means that that in this here row, there's 1 empty space and the rest is walls. And this 2 empty spaces, etc., etc. Now, so there's 1 wall in this column. Of course, it can't be the very top or bottom, because that would mean this hits 6 targets. It can only hit 3. And so that wall has to be either here or here. That means there have to be walls here. And that grays out this row also. That means the rest can't be walls. And that lets us fill out the bottom row with walls. And now this is gray. Also, these bunnies have to be hit by these bombs. We need to have a wall here. We can fill in this row with walls. That means these bunnies have to be hit by these bombs, because of course this bomb cannot hit these bunnies, so it has to hit these. Means there's a wall here and there's a wall here. And yeah. It has to be like this. Now this column is gray. There has to be a wall here. In these 2 rows, the walls have to be here, 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 and here. So not here, or here, here, or here. See, this row is gray. This row can be filled in with walls. This row has 7 non-walls, so the rest have to be walls. This column can be filled in with walls. And that grays out this row. And this row. So now we can fill in this column with walls. And this row. And this row. This row has 7 empty spaces. The rest must be walls. Now this is gray. And this. So now we can fill in these rows with walls. Now this is gray, and this, and this, and so is this. So the walls in this row must be here. Grays out here, here. There's 1 space left, and it has to be a wall.